Good Wednesday afternoon. Thanks for joining us on Kare 11 News Now. I'm Morgan Wolf. We have a very big story that we're following. Investigators are trying to figure out what sparked a fire that destroyed the Haskell's restaurant in Excelsior. Our crews were on scene all night as the crews there battled the flames. The heaviest damage, according to fire officials, is concentrated in the bar and restaurant area. The wine and spirits section of the store was not burned, but staff are still evaluating the smoke damage. The building has been operating as Haskell's since the 1970s and is a staple in the community.
I think it's definitely going to have an impact for sure. Like I said, it's been an institution for as long as we've been around here, and a lot of our firefighters and people we work with frequent it and enjoy hanging out here on the summer days.
Big, very tough loss because this is their holiday season, compared to the other stores, because everybody loves to come down and hang on the rail and watch people go by, play a little barroom bingo and all that kind of stuff. It'll be lost, but again, we'll come back and be stronger.
Right now, changes are underway in proposals to keep Hennepin County Medical Center from closing. DFL lawmakers are now proposing a 0.75% sales tax in Hennepin County compared to the initial plan of 1%. That would generate $250 million for HCMC. The new plan would also create a new board of hospital administration and cut North Memorial Hospital in Robbinsdale from receiving the sales tax revenue. Like HCMC, North Memorial is facing deep deficits, serving mostly patients covered by government programs, and the feds are substantially making cuts to those programs. Republicans on the tax committee indicate that they still need some convincing before they can approve hundreds of millions in tax increases. Lawmakers need to find a solution, though, before the session ends in 2 weeks, or the hospital could close next month. The complaint is nothing gets done at the Capitol, which we know is not true, but a major piece of fraud legislation to bolster the state's Medicaid fraud control unit passed the Senate and is now moving into the House after Republicans and Democrats worked out a compromise. Here's Danny Spiewak.
When providers defraud Medicaid, the Minnesota Attorney General's office dispatches the Medicaid Fraud Control Unit to investigate.
They're stealing from all of us.
But with Medicaid fraud cases skyrocketing, Attorney General Keith Ellison has urged support for a bill that would increase staffing at the Medicaid Fraud Control Unit from 32 to 50, increase criminal penalties for fraud, and expand subpoena authority at the AG's office.
If Minnesota wants to stop Medicaid fraud, I got to get this bill through.
In the tied House, though, the path hasn't been easy. Last month, the bill stalled in committee after Republicans proposed making funding for the Medicaid Fraud Control Unit contingent on the amount of funds recovered.
We have no faith in the Attorney General's office to do the job.
While DFL members argued the funding should be ongoing.
So it is beyond me why we would not give them more investigators and more prosecutors to do the job.
That led to weeks of negotiations between DFL Representative Matt Norris and his Republican counterparts that finally resulted in a bipartisan compromise on Tuesday.
This bill does what Minnesotans expect us to do.
The parties agreed to a deal that will bolster funding for the Medicaid Fraud Control Unit using a special revenue fund from Medicaid providers rather than the state's general fund. By spending $1.2 million, the state will receive a 3-to-1 federal match.
So I like to say, you buy one fraud fighter here at the state level, you get 3 free from the federal government. So we were able to find an agreement that provides that ongoing fund.
It's one of 2 anti-fraud bills to advance out of the House Ways and Means Committee on Tuesday, along with a bipartisan human services package that strengthens oversight of Medicaid programs.
To try and address many of the issues that many of us have been talking about for a few years, and many more will be talking even more about in the next year.
It's a sign of progress during another tough year in the divided legislature.
The 2 prominent anti-fraud bills, the Office of the Inspector General bill and this one to fight Medicaid fraud, are both looking like they're going to get across the finish line.
The Medicaid Fraud Control Unit bill also passed the full Senate on Tuesday as part of a larger finance bill. So with it moving forward in both chambers now, eventually they'll have to come together to negotiate and come up with one final version to send to Governor Walz's desk for a signature. At the Capitol, I'm Danny Spiewak, Kare 11 News.
Well, new today, President Trump announced the effort to force open the Strait of Hormuz called Project Freedom, and that is being put on hold as the U.S. and Iran appear to be closing in on an agreement to end the war in the Gulf. The stalemate in the Strait, one of the largest oil thoroughways in the world is causing gas prices to skyrocket. The average in Minnesota sitting at $4.20 a gallon. That is up 4 cents just from yesterday. NBC's Richard Engel reports from Israel.
The twists and turns in the Iran war are continuing, with President Trump now announcing that his new policy, called Project Freedom, to force open the Strait of Hormuz has now been paused. He said to allow for potential diplomatic progress. And it does seem that negotiations could be advancing, with Axios reporting, citing 4 diplomatic sources, that the U.S. and Iran now have a one-page document, a blueprint to potentially ending this war. And it comes as China is increasingly vocal about its opposition to the war and its desire to find a settlement to this conflict. After the Iranian foreign minister visited China, China's foreign minister said that a resumption of hostilities is completely unacceptable and that it is urgently needed to find a diplomatic solution. Richard Engel, NBC News, Jerusalem.
The Minnesota Wild waking back up in Minnesota with a long road ahead in their playoff series with Colorado. That game last night, oof, tough to watch. The team now with 2 straight losses against the Avalanche. Colorado scoring their first shot of the game. The Wild answering back just 6 seconds later. The Avalanche retaking the lead, though, later in the period. Of course, on a power play. That has been an issue for the Wild all playoffs. In the second, though, the Avalanche score on their first shot of the period, just like the first. The Wild got 1 more goal in, but they just could not get ahead of the Colorado. Game 3 is Saturday in St. Paul. The Frost, we also got to talk about our ladies. They also got an L last night in the Walter Cup semifinals. No points on the board for either team until triple overtime. Whew, what a game it was. Montreal evening the score of the series. Final score was 1-0. Tomorrow they are going to be back for game 3 at home. Over in San Antonio, the Wolves are getting ready for game 2 against the Spurs tonight. Minnesota opening the Western Conference semifinals with a win. It was a close game, though. This is a very exciting series to watch. They'll try to win their second match in a row tonight at 8:30. Well, it is National Teacher Appreciation Week, a time to celebrate and honor the educators in our lives. And one teacher in St. Louis Park is getting top honors. He was just named the 2026 Minnesota Teacher of the Year. Here's Heidi Wigdahl.
At Park Spanish Immersion Elementary School in St. Louis Park, gratitude can be felt from one side of the school to the other.
The music class is on the other side of the building, so it's a bit of a walk.
David Davis is feeling the love.
Congratulations. Thank you, thank you.
As Minnesota Teacher of the Year.
Think about which emotion you might touch today.
For Senor Davis, it's excitement.
Okay, come on in.
But every kid gets to tap in to how they're feeling.
Thank you so much.
One of the many ways Senor Davis beats to his own drum. Steady work, now being celebrated.
Well deserved.
From the principal.
I really like when he teaches us really new notes.
To the kids.
I'm happy for him.
Raise your hand if you'd like to come up and be the teacher that plays the teacher rhythm.
To celebrate, 2 first-grade classes are creating music.
Remember how we talked about there's 3 languages you're learning at PSI? Who can raise their hand and say one of the languages? Sammy.
Music.
Music. Oh, I like how you use that one first. Music helps people learn language, and language helps people learn music.
How did you get into teaching?
For many years, I did not want to be a teacher. As you can probably expect, there was a teacher in my life that completely changed my way of thinking. There's this pedagogy class that I really think you should take. And I was like, fine. And that one class blew my mind. It demystified the science of teaching.
Davis starts every school year with kindergartners choosing a song meaningful to them.
All right, I think that's the majority. I invite that kindergartner up to co-teach alongside me. I really just want to share that message that they come into the class already with musical brilliance, and they're teaching all of us inherently is reflecting them and their culture when they're the ones teaching about the Brazilian lullaby that their mom taught them or their favorite Led Zeppelin song.
4th graders interview a local elder, then compose for them an original song.
The kids say, this is everything we learned about you. Can we gift you the song we created? Never a dry eye in the house. It's so powerful, so meaningful.
Just does an amazing job with our children to bring out their own brilliance.
It lets us learn new things, and it's really fun.
I believe that the status quo of education seems to be more on the side of students having too little ownership in their learning, more of the teacher making all the decisions, and I feel like it should be more of a team effort.
So that's where you'll find Senor Davis, right in the middle, alongside his students.
Signed all their names. Felicidades.
It's a gratitude felt in every language.
Davis is obviously a huge advocate for music in schools and says that it's unfortunate to hear that some districts are cutting music, when he says what the world desperately needs more of right now is more community, cultural understanding, collaboration, and creativity, which music as a discipline can offer. Stick with us. More news and weather is coming up after the break.